You're watching the Bethel College Football Show.
I say, brother, you stay hood! Brother, hood, brother, hood, brother, hood!
Sears is going to fake the pitch to Juarez. DJ Sears in for the touchdown.
Welcome to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head football coach of the Threshers, A.B. Stokes. And the Threshers coming off their first loss of the season. It was on the road in Kansas City at Avila University, 28-14 against Avila, ranked in the top 25. KCAC up to 4 schools ranked in the top 25, the only conference in NAIA football to have such numbers. The Threshers, in short, were up 14-0 and gave up 28 unanswered points. Before we get into the details, Coach, how do you react like that as a coach, as a coaching staff, and anticipating maybe somehow players react to that kind of a performance, and then and because you got to process it. Everything is you got to go through the emotions and then move on with it, but leading up to moving on, what was kind of going through your mind and maybe some of the conversations you had?
Oh, well, I mean, I'll be honest, Dan, not too much for the simple fact of everything that I talk about every Saturday of this being the game, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you continue to play the game. And I think what helps our guys, at least, I'm anticipating. I think we're in a pretty good spot as far as their emotions and them ready to be back out there and know that they still have season to play, right? I think what helps is we don't put too much stock in win or lose. It's all about preparation and giving your best, right? So even there could be a time where you win, but you feel there are a lot of things to work on, and there on the contrary, there could be a time that you lose. This isn't one of them times, but there could be a time that you lose and you feel like you're almost right there. You don't have too much to work on. But for us, being in the early stage of this process of the new era of Bethel football, right? We're in the beginning stages of it. We just feel like every week, we want to get better, and there are things that we need to work on, and we just feel like this week, Avila was they were just a little bit, they were a little bit better at us at some of the things that we wanted to work on. So,
yeah, I think with them performing the way they did, you guys certainly got out to a nice start. You got some ball first and some good field position, setting up your first score on a chance scurry 4-yard rushing touchdown, and then a fumble even helped you out even more for the second score that took place in the second quarter. I believe Ernest Ferrier stripped the ball and John Henson recovered it. And a few plays later, Trayvon Madison caught a 5-yard touchdown pass from DJ Sears. And little did we know at the time that was going to be the last time the Threshers score on the day. That was not even in the minds of anyone at that moment, up 14-0. They score on their first touchdown on a fumble, a sack and a fumble recovery, and taking it for 6. And that the rest of the way, it's 14-7 at half. And you still feel like, okay, we're ahead.
Yeah.
We can still, there's no change in how we feel towards this game at that point. It seems like.
No.
But then, Avila's defense truly proved why they're now second in the country in yards allowed. And they were very tough against you guys. Their quarterback, Eli Williams, was the offensive player of the week in the conference. And their defensive end, I forget his name. His name was being called, I think it's Tony. Yeah, or something like that. His name was being called quite a bit, and he was the defensive player of the week for the conference as well. But that second half, you guys had opportunities, and things just didn't quite go your guys' way.
No, not at all. And it's part of it. Being on the road, and they're getting all they got a bunch of the momentum, and it was just hard for us to get it back. Don't get me wrong, our guys were fighting, trying to get the momentum back, but it just for whatever reason it just seemed like we couldn't gain the momentum back, because even late in the game we felt like we had a chance. I mean, it was 21-14 forever. You know what I mean? So, 14-14, and then it got 21-14 a little late, but we still had opportunity within that. But I think when you get the momentum, man, especially for them being at home, and you can just feel it. They had been in a situation where they allowed the team to come back in the fourth quarter on them already. So I'm sure that was in the back of their minds, driving them to say, "Hey, we're going to put this thing away." When they kind of had us on the ropes. But it is. They did a great job. I don't think that that we were 100% at our best. We had a couple of key players that one went out, Tyler Dobbs, in the game, and Cash McCray, who's he's like relief, comes in, and he's able to find holes in to keep the runs and the chains moving at times for us when we get a little stagnant. We were without Cash McCray and without Tyler Dobbs, who's very pivotal within our run game as an H-back. And so when he went out early, we had Jared Foster come in, and he did a great job. But it's just different when you have a guy who's playing a lot of snaps and a lot of minutes for you, and then a guy comes in who's kind of got to get the feel for the game. You know what I mean? The feel of the blocks and the line that's in front of him. It's one thing to practice it. He does a great job. He knows what he's doing, does a great job, but it's one thing in practice and another in the game. And by no means is that why we couldn't do it. I'm just saying they got a little momentum, and were able to, they were able to capitalize on the momentum is what it boils down to. But again, I'm happy I'm proud of the way our guys battled, man, and even, with some adversity and, being on the road, I'm proud of the way they battled, and I know that sometimes you got to look at losses as all the time you got to look at losses as lessons, and we definitely doing that in this case, and hopefully it's something I didn't want it, but maybe it's something that we needed to to give us an extra push to continue to perform at a high level down the stretch.
Certainly, DJ Sears throws for 98 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Was sacked 4 times, got all sorts of pressure, and he's been used to getting pressured, somewhat this season, and he's been able to get out of situations. And at some point, he just kind of, teams start to maybe see what tendencies are from quarterbacks, things like that, when those pressure situations happen. Not saying that necessarily happened, but in football, it can definitely happen. Chance Scurry rushed for touchdown for you guys, and only 44 yards rushing on the day and 98 passing. Like I said, Avila's defense, I think, is definitely legitimate. Their statistics definitely prove that they are one of the top defenses in the NAIA. And, the KCAC definitely has good defenses, because your defense played pretty well, I thought, for the most part as well. Robin Neely got an interception for you guys. Outside of the sack and scoop and score, defense was, they were on the field a lot. That was a factor to it as well. But I feel like, they managed, all the different things as far as playing a quarterback like Eli Williams, that can challenge you with his mobile abilities.
Yeah, yeah. And they did. Like I said, man, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, we weren't able to move the ball for, various different reasons. I do use the word momentum a lot, which they did. They got a lot of momentum. And, once you start creating stops and creating chaos and pressure and things like that, sometimes that definitely could hurt. It could hurt an offense. And when you're constantly putting your defense out on the field, then obviously at some point something might fall, and that's exactly what we feel like happened. But I do think their defense is a very well deserving of the rankings that they're getting. I do think they're a very, very good, if not great, defense. But I'm telling you, I think that our offense is it's coming to form too, and that 44 rushing yards is a little skewed because that's the number that's factored in when you account for all of those sacks that we took.
Yeah.
We took a couple of big sacks, you know what I mean? So we physically rushed for more than 44 yards. That's what the stats will show because you have to take into account loss. And I'm not one to sit here and just try to overlook, the fact that we got beat, outplayed, whatever you want to say. But at the same time, man, I'm not one to not let our guys know that they're doing good things. You know what I mean? Like I'm proud of our guys. I know we got to talk about what Avila did as well, but I'm proud of our guys. Hats off to them, and. But I'm here and I'm ready for our guys to take the field again so we can show just who we are.
Thresher's still a top 10 defense in yards allowed at number 9 in the country. Avila at number 2, and you also have Kansas Wesleyan up there in the top 5 at the same time. At the top, Lindsey Wilson nationally. Threshers were led in tackles by Cade Miller with 12 and 11 from Josh Siebold. And Robin Neely with an interception and Monty Peoples with a sack for the Threshers.
2 sacks.
2 sacks.
Yeah, he should have had 2 if it wasn't on there.
Yeah, it might have been credited differently.
Okay.
But, yeah, he made some good plays,
Yeah.
made an impact in the game. And the Threshers fall 28-14 to move forward. And I'm sure that creates all sorts of dialogue here in the final games of the season, of the regular season, with the point differential and 3 teams at the top of the conference at 6-1, and national rankings being different factors. But we'll see what happens in the end. I think there's still quite a bit more football to play for Avila, Southwestern, and Bethel here in the final weeks. Speaking of this last week, other games, Kansas Wesleyan wins by 2, 14-12 at McPherson, and a tough ball game. McPherson still a team, 1 or 2 points all the time.
They're a good football team, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, and
good.
They still have to play. They host Avila, and they go to Sterling. After this week's game, McPherson hosts St. Mary. So, Avila having to go to McPherson, that'll be a tough game. We'll see.
That's this week?
No, next week.
Next week.
Actually, Avila at McPherson is in November. I apologize.
Okay.
This week, McPherson is at Bethany.
Okay.
So, Avila, I'll run through the scores from last week, and then we'll get through setting the stage for this coming week. Mentioned Kansas Wesleyan winning 14-12 at McPherson. St. Mary winning 41-0 at home against Bethany. Friends winning 42-7 against Sterling, this week's opponent for the Threshers. And Southwestern winning big over Tabor 49-6 in Winfield, bouncing back from their loss to Bethel College. Southwestern moving up in the polls to 13th, Bethel 16th, Avila 21st, and Kansas Wesleyan 25th in the coaches poll. Interesting how all that's factored in. This week's slate for the conference, Ottawa is at Friends, St. Mary is at Avila, Sterling comes to Bethel this week, McPherson is at Bethany, and Tabor travels to Kansas Wesleyan. Interesting that is an evening kick on Saturday this week. So a lot of football left to be played, Coach. Before we get talking about Sterling, the conference has certainly been competitive, as ever this year. I mean, you have 5 or 6 teams, I mean, that are very good and this close to each other. It's tough to crown a champion at the end of the day. It's tough to get, representation, but somebody has to go into the postseason.
Yeah. Might as well be us.
There you go. I mean, you certainly you have with players on the team that were a part of last year's program that just fell a little bit short of the national postseason. And out of 100 teams in NAIA, only 16 get to go to the playoffs, and so that's definitely something that they're hungry for. Obviously, 2 years ago they went to the playoffs and took on Lindsey Wilson back in the 2020 season. So, wants to get back to that point, but know that the task is still at hand with Sterling, Tabor, and St. Mary left on the regular season for the Threshers, 2 of their final 3 games at home, encouraging, and a rivalry game in between it. So we're going to talk about Sterling coming up. Coach, any final thoughts going into our talks about Sterling?
No, that's my alma mater. And we actually play them on my birthday as well.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just, hopefully it's a good day for me.
Well, I don't know that you know this, but Sunday is my birthday, so it's a birthday weekend for us.
Let's go, birthday
Let's
weekend.
go. We beat Sterling last year at Sterling on my birthday, so
all right.
There you go. All right, well, when we come back here on the Thresher Football Show, we're going to talk about the Threshers and the Sterling College Warriors coming up next.
Thresher fans, get ready for the upcoming school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Threshbees Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, new banners in Thresher Gym, equipment for the Gearing Hall weight room, windscreens at Ward Tennis Center, and Thresher Stadium. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history and a booster club that is living out the Bethel College Athletics mission by creating life-changing experiences for our student athletes through 4 levels of membership plus parent and young alumni specials. Athletics is an integral part of the Bethel College experience, and thanks to your support, we look forward to growing our success for the future. Visit BethelThreshers.com/Booster Club to become a member today.
We're kicking off another year here at Bethel College, and we need your help in making this another successful season. Thanks to your generosity in the spring, we were able to purchase championship rings and practice jerseys for our players, giving them a big-time experience. Since then, we've added several new faces to the program, and we couldn't be more excited to get to work molding a group of upstanding young men. All summer long, our guys have been getting after it in the weight room, and since August 5th, we've been hard at work preparing to put a product on the field that honors the tradition of Bethel College football. With your help, we're ready to make this another great year. Thanks for your generosity, and roll on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside A.B. Stokes. Bethel College 6-1, getting set to take on Sterling College at Thresher Stadium. It is a 1 o'clock kick on Saturday, and the second to last home game for Thresher football on the regular season schedule. And we hopefully have a great crowd. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer, and hopefully fans can make it out for Bethel and Sterling, and maybe stick around later for some senior night volleyball. I'll plug that as well. At 7 o'clock, Bethel volleyball taking on McPherson College. If you come for one, come for both, because Bethel volleyball is having an outstanding season, their best in probably a decade. So, if you want to watch some good athletics for Bethel College, come out at 1 and at 7 and just kind of make a day out of it. It should be a great day in North Newton, no question. It'll be on the KCAC network, both matchups. I've got double duty that day, so I'm excited for it. Football and volleyball on the same day. I don't think I've ever done that before.
Wow.
But, first time for everything. So it should be exciting. I'm not mad about it one bit. I love it. So the Threshers and Sterling College this week. The Threshers come in with a 4-game winning streak against Sterling, Before 2018, the Threshers had lost 7 straight matchups to the Warriors, and we have some personnel on our coaching staff that was on the team that beat the Threshers back then. I mean, not to mention we have 4 total coaches that are Sterling alums on the Bethel coaching staff between yourself, Coach Burgess, and
Coach
Langford and Coach
Hudspeth,
Denton Hudspeth. Yeah. So 4 guys on there. We're kind of used to having some Sterling guys around here. Coach Leak is also a Sterling grad as well. She was a heck of a volleyball player there. Their all-time leading assist leader at Sterling College for volleyball. It's pretty exciting. So lots of ties between there. They've got a new coach this year, so it should be interesting to see what they're doing. They won 1 game against Bethany this year. That was a double overtime game a couple weeks ago. So coming in, from what you've seen so far from Sterling, how do you evaluate them?
I think that they have, really good players. I think they're kind of in a similar situation that, we could have been in, being, new system that they're learning. So sometimes it's hard to get, full buy-in, but I think they've got really good players. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, Darren Jackson, I think he's a really good football coach. I really do. And I think, he's just having, a tough year. But I think once he gets it going over there, that Sterling could be a team definitely in years to come that you could easily see them moving themselves back up toward the top of the KCAC.
Player-wise, Daniel Jackson played in 6 games at quarterback for them, thrown for 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, 11 interceptions on the season. In the ground game, their leading rusher, Daniel Dorsakar, 265 yards, rushing 1 touchdown. He's a senior running back for them. All in all, 4 touchdowns on the ground and 7 through the air for the Warriors. In this kind of transition season from coaching staff to coaching staff. And in the receiving game, their leading receiver, David Timmons, with 22 catches for 315 yards. T.C. Smith also with 25 catches for 368 yards. And part of those touchdowns. Drew Ellis is another guy that Kansas kid from Mulvane, definitely a good player as well. I got to cover him quite a bit in high school, so it's interesting to see him play at the college ranks. But the Threshers and the Warriors, we'll start on offense for them, Coach. The Warriors, they have some good personnel, just like you said, learning the system. But what have you really seen from them, just watching them a little bit on film?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, Dan, like they've done some different things over the weeks, and part of it is, trying to maybe figure out exactly what it is that they want to do. But it's no different than most teams. You want to try to establish the run early and use the pass sparingly. But they're a team that we're coming in. We're expecting them to do everything that they can to try to get a win. In this scenario, it'll be a good staple win for them if they were able to do it. But we're prepared. We're prepared for them to give us their best shot, and we've been working on that all week.
Threshers and Sterling College, 1:00 kick from Thresher Stadium this week. You can watch it on the KCAC network. Defensively for the Warriors, Hunter Pullen, a sophomore linebacker, 36 tackles on the season and 1 sack to his name. In the sack category, Cameron Flinders with 3.5 sacks on the season, and a couple guys with 2 interceptions amongst the defensive backs for the Warriors. As far as defensively, obviously, they've played some really tough teams, given up quite a few points in those games. But looking at the defensive side of the football, what have you seen from them?
They're pretty solid. They run a base defense. They're a 4-3 defense, and they'll try. I'd imagine they're going to try to put a lot of pressure early on us if they can catch us in it. Because typically in this conference, when a team sees something that's successful that another team does, generally the next team will try to follow suit within their own identity. You know what I mean? But I'd expect them to. They have a couple of stunts that we're preparing for. different blitz packages that they do, but they're a base defense. Again, you can tell that it's something that's new, so they're not trying to be too multiple within their defense. It's a base 4-3 defense, and they'll try to stunt from within that. So as long, I think if our guys can pick up the stunts, then we can have a really good day on offense.
Threshers last couple of years have done pretty well on offense against Sterling, scoring in the 50s and 40s against the Warriors. Last year, Mason Murray, who was in the program, had 4 touchdowns, I think 2 touchdown runs and 2 touchdown catches against the Warriors. 2 years ago, Bethel offense had 3 different players run for at least 100 yards in that game. 2 of them are still on the team, and one's on the coaching staff. So, Bethel has had some success offensively, defensively as well. I remember the last couple of years. Last year, Brendan Sanders had a pick 6 at Sterling, and then the year before, we had the Threshers had 2 safeties in the matchup against Sterling. Definitely an opponent that your guys can have a lot of confidence coming in against.
Well, again, man, we do the whole faceless thing. So if we're going to have confidence coming in this week, it's only because we have confidence going in any week. You know what I mean? So we do the whole faceless opponent. We really do. And, it's for the most of the season, it's fared well. And there's no reason to change that up. I know we coming in after a loss, so our guys are definitely, they're hungry to get back on the winning side of things, not just because of that, but because that's what we want to do. We want to win game. We play a game, but we play to win. You know what I mean? So that's what our guys want to do. But again, like I said, if we're coming in confidence, it's because we're confident in the work that we put in every week. And we're going to be confident going into any game that we play, whether the result's fair in our favor or not. I think it's only right that you enter a game feeling a certain level of confidence, but only because you've prepared.
No question. I mean, the focus has to be inward from this point on with 3 games left. You have to focus on yourselves, and if anything else happens, then that's fantastic.
That's what you could have been in. We must have been in the meeting on Sunday. So that's exactly what we told them. Like, just focus on us, and when it's all said and done, November 11th, we don't play a game, but everybody will be finished November 11th, and we'll see what happens.
Certainly. Having that final week off, a lot of opponents playing some tough games in the next 3 weeks or so. So it should be interesting to see how the rest of the regular season unfolds. Again, the Threshers take on Sterling. Just 1 o'clock kicks from the rest of the regular season. It's Sterling this week, at Tabor for the Minnow Bowl next week, and then home against the University of St. Mary on November 5th for Senior Day. And it will be definitely, one of the senior days that you don't want to miss at that point of the season, with so many guys that have been here and stayed here for 4 years and some 5 as well, playing possibly their final game in a Thresher uniform. Should be exciting into the regular season. But Coach, as we're getting to the final quarter, you can say, of the season, I'm sure you can think about a lot of things that we wanted to accomplish at the beginning. Coming into this point, having played 7 games, I can fair to guess that you feel pretty good about what the team's been able to do. But just closing out this season, what's your mentality in leading this program?
Well, kind of a 2-part question there, I guess. And so the first part is, I'm definitely proud of these young men, these men thus far. And but it's because I see the behind the scenes. I'm more proud of the Sunday through Friday, than I am the Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more proud of who they are every day of the week. And what they've committed to, them going to class, them being good teammates to one another, them being good peoples and servant leaders on this campus. You know what I mean? I'm proud of that. And then, the fact that they were able to, win a lot of football games thus far is just extra. It's extra. That I'm proud of them, but that makes me smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The winning makes me smile. And then, moving forward, I told these guys today, I just want them to really, really enjoy this next phase. Like, don't start thinking that, and I had to talk to myself in my office this week about starting to think about things, number one, outside of my control, number two, outside of the season, this season, 3 games that we have left. I said, no, enjoy every single game. I want them to play these next 3 games as if each one of them was week 1. And I reminded them of how excited they were when you first come back to camp. How excited you are for that first game, because that's what champions do. Everybody's looking for an out. Trust me, Dan, we are banged up, but so is everybody else, right? This is football is a game where you have to play through hurt, right?
Yes.
We've got guys playing through hurt, but so do other teams. We're not asking them to do anything that other teams aren't doing, right? And when you're playing through hurt and the weather starts to get cold and Thanksgiving's around the corner and you're about to graduate, all these things are happening, it's easy to want an out. You know what I mean? It's easy to just say, yeah, well, my shoulder's hurting, so, or, man, it's cold, man, or, yeah, Mom wanted me home for Thanksgiving. Whatever the case may be, let's push that aside and let's enjoy this like it's recess for the next 3 weeks. And that's what I want from these guys moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt, a great mentality. I really appreciate you taking the time to dwell on that because, it's certainly the message anybody needs to hear, whether you come off a loss in, the last game or not. I mean, you get to that final quarter of the season and, so many things happening. People, everybody's in a different situation and, they know what they want. They just want to go out there and earn it for what's left and just take care of their own business the best that they can. So no question, I think, folks, it's easy to see that the leadership is clearly headed in the right direction and motivating the team and leading them in that direction. So before we get too sidetracked there, looking at the stats on the season for the Threshers, DJ Sears up to 841 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the year. Looking at other stats, Sears also 373 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns for Chance Scurry on the season, and 3 from Caden Christensen, part of the 18 rushing touchdowns for the Threshers. In the receiving game, 7 touchdowns through the air. Braden Francis, the recipient of 3 of those, 3 pretty long ones as well, seemingly. Trayvon Madison with 2 touchdowns, and Isaac Harkness and Caden Hernandez each with a touchdown in the offensive side of the football. It's kind of interesting. We've seen Carson Sauceda continue to place kick for you guys. Logan Demond has been kicking off for you, and you kind of see a little bit of a passing baton, those guys, from one to another, and it's good to see that. I'm no doubt that they help each other out any chance that they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Logan, he's done a lot for this program, and given an opportunity to allow him to kick more PATs this year, we're hoping to do that, and again continue to bring Carson Sauceda's into his career. He's already started off having a great career. But again, like I said, Logan DeMond, everybody knows what he's done for this program over the past 4 years. So we're not going to just he's not just pushing himself out to,
Sure.
We got senior day coming up. We got these games and playoffs, hopefully. You never know. But we definitely want to give him opportunity to at least go out and kick some PATs and field goals again. You know
Yeah,
what
I mean, you never know. Either one of those guys could be a deciding factor in any game for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at defense, Josh Siebold leading the team in tackles with 65. Still got a little bit of work to do to get 100 up to his average of 100 per season that he's had in his career in a Thresher uniforms. Cade Miller with 61. And in sacks, leading the Threshers, Jairo Castillo has 4 on the season. Amani Peoples with 3 on the books. Other leading tacklers for the Threshers, Doug Ryder with 40 and Grant Godsey with 38 for Bethel College. You have 4 fumble recoveries from John Henson this year.
Oh, wow.
I bet you didn't realize that.
No, I didn't.
He just got one against Avila as well.
Yeah.
So-
Wow, I had to make up a nickname for him or something.
But no question, he's having a great year in his senior season. It's been great to see him, and the enthusiasm that he brings to the program over the last few years, and hopefully that is contagious, no doubt. So, but that's kind of looking at the season stats on the year. Some people are about statistics. You have your teams out there in NAIA ranks that have thrown for 2,000 or rushed for 2,000 on the season or anything like that. But I feel like you guys are just focused on playing the game and, it's purely situational, winning the game, playing for each other. I don't know that anybody really thinks about their stats. Most of the people that I'm not gonna make an assumption, but we've seen in history with the game of football, people that really are concerned with their stats are not necessarily concerned about their team in some regards. And but with that being said, would you think that's a fair assessment of the program, that these guys are just engaged with each other versus, trying to total, this many touchdowns or yardage or tackles?
Absolutely. This thing was built on rock, man. It's got a solid foundation. And these guys, they genuinely, we had our small group today. That is the theme of the week, is built on rock. We won't be shaken. And one of the questions was, how do you know this program is built on rock? And I can't think of who it was. I think it was Siebold or Chanscurry. It was one of them who said because of the way that they treat one another, right? In the way that they care about other people. Maybe it was James Goff. The way they care about one another. We play such a brutal game, but we're these caring people. And when you care about people, the more you care about others, it's almost like the less you care about self, right? And that goes right into play of what you talk about with not worrying about stats. The most important stat is the team stat, the win. You know what I mean? That's the most important stat. And then the fact that, we actually care about one another. We actually like each other off the field. Dare I say love each other off the field. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are building real relationships that are going to be fostered way outside of 100 yards. You know what I mean? So that's just where it is, man. And you hit it on the head. These guys don't really care about stats, but I think the more that we get, they get familiar with this system, I think the stats will come, and that's just the way it should be.
No question. My evaluation over the last 4 years of a lot of NAIA football programs is breeding top individuals. It's a special kind of person to come and play at any sport at this level. They really buy into the experience and the other people on their team, and really just these are great skills to develop well beyond education into the professional realm at the same time. So that's something that is easy to notice. One final question I was going to ask you is, man, I feel like we just broke ground on the Thresher locker room, and it's got beams. They're putting up metal roof as we speak. It's coming pretty quick here.
It is, and we're grateful for it. All the work that was put into it from everybody, the administration and the alumni, all the donors. Man, we're very, very grateful, and we're trying to show it through the way we take care of the locker room that we're in now. Like, we have guys constantly cleaning it. We have, we've organized our lockers a certain way, and we want to just take that gratitude into the new one, because it's one thing to get something built for you. It's another thing to appreciate it, and I want these guys to really appreciate it, because it was it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't an easy task to get this locker room built, and so that requires even more gratitude, and we're definitely grateful, and it's beautiful. Coming back in from Avila and just getting back on campus. One thing that eased the salt of that loss was driving back onto this beautiful campus and seeing the lights of the stadium and the structure going up, and like, man, I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. And not just because of that, but that's just the outside appearance of what is actually inside of Bethel College. It's a beautiful, special place with beautiful, special people, and we're grateful to be here.
Yeah, you can easily, if you're a player, look upon that and think, our time in a uniform playing there is only so short, so it's something definitely you have to take advantage of and make the most of in those experiences and memories. And that's really what I try to do, in my role in all this, is just to make this even more special for, the families, the student athletes, the coaches as well, being a part of the experience, and just it's a joy to do it, just to lift up others. And so I'm excited for the rest of this regular season, Coach. I know we got a few more shows to do within it, but we're going to wrap up this week's show. I appreciate everybody watching. It's the Threshers and Sterling College. The Warriors coming to town for a 1 o'clock kick. You can watch it on the KCAC network. Stick around Saturday evening for 7 o'clock volleyball. Go support Thresher Volleyball. They're taking on McPherson College on senior night. And for Coach A.B. Stokes, I'm Dan Page for a final time, saying roll on.